Okay, let's try something. When I say the word Dodge, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most people, I bet it's one very specific thing.
Yeah, that's the one. The burnout, the roar, that pure, unfiltered American muscle. I mean, this is the brand that gave us the Charger, the Challenger, the Hellcat. But what if I told you that image, as awesome as it is just one small piece of a way more interesting puzzle?
Because the real story of Dodge, the one you probably don't know, isn't just about horsepower. It's about what they built for others and how they kind of shaped the entire industry. Seriously, let's get into it.
Like, what if I told you Dodge was pretty much the secret ingredient that helped build Ford? Or that over a century ago, they were a trailblazer for equality in a way that almost no one else was? And get this same brand that makes the Hellcat also invented the minivan. Yeah, the minivan. The story of Dodge is just packed with these wild contradictions, and it's absolutely fascinating. So to really understand Dodge, we got to go back to the beginning. And it doesn't start with a car. It starts with two brothers, John and Horace Dodge. Now, these guys weren't your typical car designers. No, they were master machinists, like total perfectionists, obsessed with quality. They started their company way back in 1900, making super high-quality parts for all the new car companies popping up in Detroit. And their work was so good, so reliable, that by 1903, they were the only company supplying the engines, the transmissions, basically the whole guts of the car for a brand new startup you might have heard of, the Ford Motor Company. It took them another 10 years before they finally said, you know what, we should build our own car.
See, for years, the Dodge brothers had been making these incredible bulletproof components for Ford, and they just kept watching Henry Ford wrap them in a car that, well, they thought they could improve on. They were basically thinking, we're building the heart and soul of this thing. We can definitely build a better body to go with it.
And wow, when they finally did, look at the difference. Their first car, the Model 30, had an all-steel body. The famous Model T, still framed with wood. Dodge had a 12-volt electrical system which was twice as powerful as the Ford's, and it had almost double the horsepower. It wasn't just a new car, it was a huge leap forward. And yeah, it was an absolute hit right out of the gate. So this reputation for being tough, for being built right, that became Dodge's calling card, and it led them down a path that went way beyond just making cars for people. I mean, their reputation for toughness was literally forged on the battlefield. The U.S. military used Dodge vehicles during the Mexican Revolution because they were just so dependable. In World War I, they supplied thousands of vehicles. But in World War II, that's when things went to another level. Dodge churned out over 400,000 military trucks. They became the absolute backbone of the Army's ground forces. But for all their engineering and military success, maybe the most important part of their legacy is something most people have never heard of, and it all started with a single meeting in 1920 between John Dodge himself and a man named John Dancy from the Detroit Urban League. Okay, you have to remember what it was like back then. It was an era of intense segregation and discrimination. Most automakers flat out refused to hire African American workers. But John Dancy asked John Dodge to open his doors, and Dodge said yes. Just like that, with one decision, Dodge became the second largest employer of African Americans in the entire auto industry. For that time period, that was a huge, huge deal. And you could see the impact right on the factory floor. The Dodge plant in Hamtramck didn't just become known for being more diverse, it also got a reputation for being a better place to work, friendlier, less of a grind than the other factories. It all came back to that different mindset. All right, let's fast forward a bit. How do you get from that company to the Dodge we know today, the one with the Hellcats? Well, the answer is pretty wild. They just kept reinventing themselves over and over again in some really shocking ways. I mean, just look at this. This perfectly sums up the craziness of Dodge. On one hand, you have the legendary '68 Charger, the undisputed king of the street. And on the other, the '84 Caravan, the undisputed king of the school drop-off line. The same company made both. And let's be super clear about this. Dodge didn't just make a good minivan. They literally invented the entire category. The Caravan wasn't just a new car. It was a new idea. It completely changed what a family car could be for like the next 30 years. It was a massive success and put them right back on top. Then, as if that wasn't enough, just 7 years after inventing the ultimate family car, they did a complete 180. They decided to build the ultimate supercar. They even worked with the Lamborghini. Yeah, that Lamborghini, to develop this monstrous V10 engine, and they stuffed it into the Dodge Viper.
It was this raw, insane, terrifying machine that just blew the doors off the idea of an American supercar. So, that brings us to today. You have this brand with this incredible history of precision engineering, of social progress, of just insane reinvention. So, where do they go from here? What's next?
Well, for starters, they're leaning into what their customers love about them. And get this, for 4 years in a row, actual Dodge owners have ranked the brand number one in overall appeal among all the big car brands. That's a huge deal, and it tells you that the original Dodge brothers' obsession with building a car people genuinely love is still alive and well.
And of course, they're reinventing themselves all over again. This is the future. The all-new, all-electric Dodge Charger Daytona. It is the world's first ever electric muscle car. And before you say anything, check the numbers. 670 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. This isn't the end of muscle, this is just the next evolution of pure, brutal power. So when you really look at the whole story, a company that helped build its biggest rival, that championed equality when no one else would, that invented the minivan and then the Viper, suddenly going electric doesn't seem that crazy, does it? It's just what Dodge does. It's the next chapter for a brand that was never really about just one thing. It's always been about blowing up expectations and redefining what a car can be.